So this video was sent into my Discord from one of you guys, and it's actually from Glitter and Lasers, who, if you've been following for a while, I actually made a video about her not too long ago, where she was kind of talking about how she is actively trying to lose weight right now, and the whole thing that was kind of why it was a big deal, right, was because she formerly, and I would say still, was very much so like body positivity, no matter what your weight, no matter what your size kind of thing, right? And so she made this video where she kind of talked about how she had developed lipedema, and she was actively trying to lose weight right now because she had to do that for her health, right? So she made this video, and it's not like it went viral, but a lot of people asked me to talk about it. So I talked about it, and she actually reached out to me on Instagram, and we have been talking back and forth. I would love to get her on the channel, but she's pretty nervous about doing that, so I don't want to force her or anything like that. But she was like really appreciative of the video that I put out. And recently, I haven't seen this video yet, but she put out this video where it's called "I'm Not Making Any More Excuses." And a lot of you guys were kind of curious about what I thought about it. So again, I have not seen this video. And so let's kind of watch it together and see what it's all about.
It's time for another super uncomfortable video about my weight. It's weird. Hey everybody, my name's Anna O'Brien, aka Glitter and Lasers.
Hi, Anna.
And this is part 2 of I don't know how many there will be, maybe a million, about this is part 2 of my health journey. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you. The first video I shared about this topic, I was so scared to post it, like so incredibly scared. I had like 18 people watch it, and I was like, I don't know. I feel like everybody's gonna be real mad. And
it's so crazy to me. Like, I mean, I said this the first time that I reacted to her video, but it's like, it's crazy to me that she was so afraid of talking about losing weight, and she has a medical condition that losing weight and being in a healthier, just doing healthier habits will absolutely impact her health in a positive way and impact her life in a positive way. But even with that, she was afraid to talk about it. Like, that just blows my mind.
The opposite happened. So many of you were just like so incredibly supportive, and I really appreciate that, because it's made continuing easier.
And again, so this is actually an important point, and I say this all the time, is that I think for the most part, and I've said this many, many times in many, many videos, for the most part, most people that are in the health at every size kind of movement, or in the body positivity space, fat acceptance space, whatever you want to call it, I would say I probably agree very much with most of what they say. Like, I really do believe that. I probably agree with most of what they say. And so most of the people like that showed in her video and in all the comments and stuff, and I know a lot of you guys went to her channel and said stuff, which is awesome, but most people are level-headed. But again, it is the extreme and like the people that are the loudest that get the voice, and those voices are usually really, really extreme.
I was going to continue either way. Don't think that I am giving up yet, but it was just nice to not have to have that extra stress of feeling like the community that I love and care for was upset with me. They might be upset with me after this video because I'm having another tough conversation.
I'm ready for it. Let's hear it.
Yay! Today I want to talk about accountability. Oof, it's I think the root of all of my problems, and might be part of the root of yours. I don't know. So I've made a decision that every time I start one of these videos, I'm going to kind of start with a disclaimer. I am not here to...
You guys know I love a disclaimer, so let's hear what hers is.
Tell you how to manage your health. That is not my job. I am not a dietitian. I am not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a physical trainer. I do not have the resources or the knowledge about you to tell you how to improve your health. So I am not here to do that. What I am here to do is to encourage you to have a deeper connection with your body, your mind, and your soul, so that you can make the best choices for your health.
Sounds good to me so far.
I am also here to encourage you to look at health differently. We typically look at health as a definition of your body. And let me tell you, I would not be here having this discussion today if I did not first work on my mental abilities, second, work on my social structures around me, third, work on my financial situation so that I could, fourth, come to grips with what was happening to my body and make the right decisions. So for anyone who thinks that this is just about my body, you have missed the memo and you probably didn't listen anyway, so who cares?
So everything that she's saying, I pretty much agree with. I would say the one thing that maybe I would say is a little bit different for me is that I think that you can work on all of those things at the same time, or you don't have to necessarily do it in that order. Like someone might work on their physical health as far as like losing weight first, and then they might work on their mental health, and then they might do them all in tandem. Everyone's going to be different. So like a lot of people say like you have to work on your mental health before you can work on your physical health. And I understand where people are coming from with that, but everyone is different and everyone is probably going to have a different path to, health and wellness. And I think that it's okay to be different in that aspect.
So in short, I don't want to tell you how to live a healthy life. That's not my job, but I am going to encourage you to take the effort to listen a little bit more to your body and see what you can learn from it. And that's the other thing I'm never going to be angry about where I was, because I think life has a journey and there are so many things I learned in that body that to hate it seems cruel and seems extremely ungrateful.
Yeah. So I've said this before, like you can't, if you are going to try and lose a massive amount of weight or make a huge change in your life, it doesn't even have to be weight, right? Just anything that she's kind of talked about. It can be physical, mental, it can be spiritual, financial. Like if you're going to actually do those things, it's probably not actually going to be coming from a place of hatred for yourself. Most likely, right? Most likely it is coming from a place of like, I love myself and I understand that where I'm at right now is not where I want to be. Because if you just like, I hate myself, I don't care, that's usually where it goes, right? I hate myself, so I don't care if I'm, this size, or I don't care if I'm this poor, or I don't care if I'm this or that and that. You just kind of accept it. But if you actually care, you're like, I'm going to make some changes here.
So, as many of you know, I just got back from a hiking adventure in Utah, southern Utah predominantly. And I will be having another vlog a little bit more on that because there's some stories from that trip that are pretty intense. But I learned a lot. And I remember thinking as I was walking on the trails, like, what is different? Like, if I could sum up in one word what was different about me in the last 3 months than the previous 3 months, what was it? And one word kept popping in my brain, and that word was accountability. And the reason that word kept popping up is because I always gave myself an excuse.
Ooh. She's preaching right now, man. Everything she's saying, I agree with.
To not be accountable previously. And it was either, life is too hard, things are too stressful, I'm doing this thing really great, so why do I have to be accountable to also do this thing really great? Like, look over there, stop paying attention to what I'm not doing over here. So one of the things I had started to do, and it's something I actually wrote about in my book a couple years ago, which is funny because I should know better, was this concept of goal distraction. And it's something that I feel a lot of us do, which is instead of having a small group of manageable goals, which we hyper focus on and achieve, we have like 35 million goals so that even when we are shirking on something that may be very, very important, we are somehow achieving another goal. So we can be like, oh, I ate crappy food. I sat around the house all day, but you know what? I had a goal to practice more self-care, and that was all self-care.
Yeah, so I like that she's saying this. So a diagram that I've seen before, it was like a circle, and it said like basically like your effort or whatever. And if that circle has a million different arrows coming out, and you're trying to put effort into a million different things at one time, your effort's gonna run out, right? The arrows are gonna be very short, because you're trying to focus on so many things at one time that it's like, okay, well, I have 50 things that I gave 10% effort to, or whatever it is, right? 52%, I guess, if you want to be 100%, right? So if you have 50 things and you are you're giving 2% effort, how how well do you think you're going to do in those things, right? Probably not very good. But if you are able to focus all of that, maybe to two things or maybe even to one thing, right? I am going to give 100% effort to X, Y, or Z, or I'm going to give 50% effort here and 50% effort here, and that's it. Like, that's all I'm going to focus on. Most likely, you are going to see better results in those two things or in that one thing. But if you're focused on 50 things that you need to improve, which is very easy when we get in like this self-improvement kick, like a lot of us, like when we want to lose weight, we're like, okay, I'm going to lose weight, and then I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to eat any of this stuff, and I'm going to make sure I don't ever do this again, and this thing, and I can't ever do that. I can't hang out with this guy. I can't, like, all of those things. If and then you get overwhelmed and you're like, well, I'm not making progress in any of these things, so I might as well give up all of them. But if you're like, I'm going to focus all my attention on this one thing, most likely you will see results. Okay, I'll stop talking. Let's keep moving on.
And I found myself doing that, giving myself an excuse. It was too hard, or I was taking a rest, or I needed a break, or whatever it would be. And I was never holding myself accountable of the decisions I made or the effects that came from the decisions I made. I started to like think about like, how did this start? How did I stop being accountable? Because people who knew me before my diagnosis and everything knew me as a very active person. I was always plus size, by the way, but like I was doing spin classes and running and all of this other stuff. I was also smaller. I'm not going to pretend about that. And there's, you know, you can go back to the ye olden times in my videos and we'll see that I was smaller. I realized that when things got tough, I would always find something to be grateful for, the silver lining. And I'd also always find a way that I wasn't sucking, like, to just be really honest, to like, okay, everything in my life is falling to crap, but at least I'm doing this, right?
Wow, this is really interesting. This is a really interesting video. I didn't know it was going to go down this road, but it's so true. Like, of course, it's good to be optimistic, and of course, it's good to have like this overall positive thought, like this positive way of thinking. But sometimes I think it's called toxic positivity or something. There's a word for it where you are now like making like it's like everything is positive, but like there are these terrible things that are happening in your life, but because you're just so focused on everything's positive and it need to be good, everything has to be good, like you're not actually taking the things seriously that maybe you should take seriously, because you're so stuck in this loop of everything has to be good, everything has to be positive. And it seems like that's kind of what she's talking about here, where it's like, okay, well, this thing isn't working out, but this like little thing, I'm happy with this, so you know, everything's good. And you're letting that positivity almost bring you down in a way, which I think is really interesting that she brought that up.
And to some extent that kept my mental clarity a little bit better, but to many extents it was detrimental to me, and not just physically. Okay, I had relationships with people that were extremely toxic, and I knew they were toxic, but I always found that silver lining, and I never held them accountable, and I never acknowledged my feelings and was accountable for the situations I put myself in that made me feel like crap. Like, I did that a lot. And I'll be honest, I am still learning how to put up walls with people that are not good for me. And I think my first step in kind of working towards all of this was removing that toxicity from my life, because I was not holding any of these people accountable to be good friends. And I was giving everything to other people and not taking care of myself. I have a dear, dear friend.
I mean, that's a normal thing that happens to a lot of people. My mom was definitely like that. She was such a giver. Like, growing up, me and my family, like, we literally, like, I'm not joking when I say, like, we were almost as poor as you can be until you're homeless, right? Like, we had no money. But my mom, like, we had 4 to 5 people, if I remember correctly, at different times had lived with us in our house that we could barely afford. And they wouldn't pay any rent, and my mom would take care of these people. And like one of I call him my brother, his name's Jordan. He lived with us for years and years and years because his family were much worse off than we were. And like, my mom was a former drug addict. We were taken away from her at a really young age, and then we were put back with her. But Jordan, his family kind of never got it together, right? That's the best way I can really explain it. And she would take these people in, and we really couldn't afford it. But like, she would just, like, it didn't matter, you know? And like, those things were good, but like that is something that she like she would give so much and she would never expect anyone to give her anything back. And eventually those storages are going to run out, right? You're going to not have anything to give. And if you don't have anything to give, you're not going to be able to help anyone. And that's something that she has learned over the years, you know? Yes, Jordan is doing fine now.
That I love. She goes by Color Me Courtney online, and she always says oxygen mask first. And literally for the past 3 years, while also being, newly diagnosed with a condition, I was my last priority. And it's kind of sad. It's like, I'm a crier if you haven't figured that out yet, but, it's kind of sad how little I cared about myself.
Yeah. Exactly how my mom was. Like, exactly.
To care so much for people that would never reciprocate it. So I literally gave so much. And when I looked around at what I had from it, just in terms of like relationships, I'm not talking things here, people. I'm talking like support and friendship. I had invested poorly. I had invested so poorly. And at first, I blamed those people. But then I realized I had like a part in this. Mm-hmm. I let this go on. I didn't stand up for things. I let people treat me that way. And I had to take responsibility, hold myself accountable, and make change in my own life.
And that's hard to do. Like, that's really hard to do when you're someone that likes to be a helper, right? When you want to be known as the person people can rely on. You want to be known as the person that like people can hit you up no matter what time of day, and they can really just like really rely on you. But the thing is sadly, I'm not saying everyone does this, but I'm sure we all have dealt with this, is there are some people that will 100% see that, and they will be like, okay, I'm going to use this person. They might not think about that in their head. They might not like say that in their mind, but all of their actions show that what they are, like, they know if they ask you for X, Y, and Z, they know that if they say a certain thing, you will come and help them, and they have no plans on returning the favor. They're just like, no, they help. It doesn't matter if I help or not, or give them anything back. They're going to help me. And it's just, you got to be careful from people like that, because they will suck you dry, man.
And so that was like the first step where accountability changed me. And it took me like 6 months to get all of the crap out of my life. And I remember the last person I cut out of my life was super difficult, because that person was extremely charismatic and had a lot of amazing things about them. But at the end of the day, they were a crappy person for me. Maybe have great relationships with other people, but being in my life was not good. At first, I was like really devastated and mourned this loss of a relationship, but like within a week, the toxic energy that had like been over me like drained out, and all of a sudden I felt capable. I don't even know how to like explain it any other way than I felt extremely capable. Like things that seemed so hard and so difficult felt achievable all of a sudden. And I think it's because I no longer was feeding my energy off. I was no longer siphoning so much of myself off to another person.
Yep. Oh man, this is so true. Like, this happens to so many people when they actually decide to lose weight and they start seeing results. You start to like realize that you can do these things that you didn't believe you could do. And like it's almost like a drug in a way. Like, I remember I felt this way, and I don't know how or why, but like I felt this way the day I woke up and I said, I'm going to lose weight today, right? I had this click moment at night. I woke up the next day, and it was like, I say it like it was like a weight was lifted off of my shoulders. Like, I was ready. No one was going to stop me. And I think part of that was me being like, I am going to do this for myself. Like, I need to do this for myself. And for so long, I just didn't care about myself, right? And so like she's saying, she didn't care about herself, so she would just give all of her energy away. Oh man, so true.
Who never refueled me, that I actually, for the first time in my life, have the energy to actually like take care of me. It feels hard for me to say, but like I'm gonna say it. This year is about me.
Yep. That's the thing, man. So many people almost feel like you're being selfish because you want to work on yourself. But like she said earlier, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you can help anyone else. It's just how it goes. Like if I didn't lose the weight and I stayed the way that I was and I didn't do anything to change, I wouldn't have the platform that I have now to make the videos that I make now to hopefully help you guys out, right? It wouldn't exist if I didn't take that and be like, I need to work on myself. I don't care what other people say. And there will be people that say, oh, you've changed. Oh, you're so full of yourself. Oh, this. Oh, that. Oh, you used to help me here. You used to do this for me here. And you have to hear it, and it might suck and it might hurt and they might be right. But guess what? It doesn't matter if you're trying to help these people and you're giving them 20% because that's all you have left. Imagine if you can give them 100% because you've charged yourself up. Like so many people will come and say, you've changed. You're this, you're that. I liked you better when you were X, Y, and Z. Too bad. Like just too bad. You got to move on.
Maybe that sounds like heartless, but like I haven't given this much energy to myself in such a long time that it needs to happen. I got to make up for all those years. I took all of my energy and gifted it to other people. Some who deserved it and remain amazing people in my life, and some who took it, used it, wasted it, and nothing good came of it.
Preach.
And so now my heart is a little bit more guarded, which I'm okay with. And I am really thinking about my needs. And so I went on this trip, right? And the reason I went on this hiking trip, just to back up a little bit, is because I realized that every time something good happened in my life, I would celebrate it with food. And
Oh, okay. All right. We'll get into it now.
every time something bad happened in my life, I would celebrate it with food. And
Yup. Oh, man. I know where she's going to go. Anytime anything happened in my life, food was the way that I coped with it, celebrated with it, drowned my sorrows in it. It was everything to me. And I'm assuming that's what she's going to say here.
every time I was stressed out, I would deal with it with food.
Yep.
Like it became this pattern of, oh, I feel an emotion. I will eat something not good for me.
Woo. Yo, she is spitting right now. She is spitting right now. Woo, man. Yeah, she might get in trouble for this one.
So it became this weird cycle where I couldn't separate my emotions from eating. And it's not that I particularly ate a ton of food. It's that I ate really bad food. Because all of the things that I would eat when I was like trying to tie to my emotions were foods that were what we would call celebratory foods. So things like cake, fried foods, stuff like that.
Thanks, Mr. Pete. I appreciate it. Oof, right on the money. You're right, man.
So I wasn't ever able to like separate feeling something away from food. I'd lost that ability. So I set myself a goal and I said, when I achieve this goal, I'm going to celebrate it. But I was like, how am I going to celebrate? I always celebrate with food. And then this opportunity came to travel for a work trip to Utah. And I said, I'm going to go hiking. And it was the worst time ever. I will talk more about this in the vlog about it, but I injured my knee before it. It was the worst, but I still did it. And I felt so proud of just that small change. And I started to reflect when I was out there hiking.
This is huge, man. Like being able to in another way celebrate in something other than food, right? Like for me, a big thing that I like to do is I love working out, right? I understand not everyone that's not what everyone feels like, but like I seriously, like, it doesn't feel like a chore. It really does feel like this is something I get to do. As cheesy as that sounds, and I'm sure all of us have heard that, don't think of exercises as a need. Think of it as like it's a blessing, right? Some people are like, that's stupid. Working out is hard. But for me, it really is that thing. And it could be even going on walks. Like there are so many things that I am able to celebrate with, maybe even just hanging out with friends that are no longer related to food. And when it is always food, of course it's going to be hard to lose weight. Of course it's going to feel like you can't actually do it because you're every emotion is tied to it.
About all the small changes that added up to where I
And I'm sweating so much right now. Oof, man.
am now. And there will be so many more small changes. And each one of them has come from being accountable of how my actions affect my health, and even in some cases, the health of those around me, and how I have to take responsibility. I look at small things like, instead of meeting friends for food, changing to that to meeting friends for physical activity like hiking or going on walks. I look at it like, I haven't had a drink since July 4th. And even before that, I drank maybe twice during the last 3 months. So deciding, like, alcohol just makes me eat and do things that I don't like. So it's just not an option for me right now.
Alcohol is really hard, man. Like, I'm going to be completely honest. Like, I don't have much experience with it. I think I've been drunk like 2 times, maybe 3. So I've never been a fan of it. Like, it's always tasted really bad to me. So I was always like, even when I was bigger, I didn't care about my health very much. I was just like, this stuff tastes like Dookie. So I'm not going to put this in my body because I don't even like how this tastes. But for a lot of people, man, like, cutting out alcohol is really, really hard. And so you might be dealing with a food addiction, but then on top of that, dealing with an alcohol addiction. I'm not saying that that's where she was because I don't know, but like, there are a lot of people that have to deal with those things in tandem, and that's very, very, very hard. Like, very hard. And so I don't have any experience with that. So it's definitely something that I think about, and I'm like, man, I'm glad that was not another hurdle I had to get over,
And that's just me holding myself accountable. Again, your choices may be entirely different than this. What I've seen from all of these small choices is I'm starting to uncover what makes me happy. Because I've spent so much time making everybody else happy that now I'm focusing on holding myself accountable and my emotions accountable and expressing and reacting to them appropriately. I'm starting to see I like very different things than I thought I did. And it's not that I
Wow. Did you hear what she said? She said, things that I thought I enjoyed, right? She thought she enjoyed these things because of whatever reason. And when she decided to cut those things out, or those people out, or whatever, those situations out, she was like, wait, I didn't even really enjoy doing that. Interesting.
Like what I was doing before. It's just, if anything, I was more playing into a system than I am now. I think what's really hard too, and I'm going to address this because I've just been also thinking a lot about this, and I'm sorry if this is jumbled thoughts, guys, but it's something that's been on my head a lot, like on my mind. It's something that's been on my mind a lot. When I look at the trolls of the internet,
Congratulations, Lou Burt said, I gave up alcohol 8 years ago. It's amazing.
I love how they talk about how they're just trying to encourage people to lose weight by shaming them. That shaming that happens on the internet does absolutely no good, because it only...
Amen. So, I mean, I 100%, like, when people, oh man, I'm going to get in trouble for this. But when people make posts or videos where they are, I kind of talked about this when I talked about Chloe Ting, right? Where you end up shaming the person on how they look, or you're shaming the person on, you're saying they're disgusting, they're nasty, you start using slurs, you start like attacking their appearance, but then you're like, no, I'm saying this because I care. Like, I care about you. And it's like, dog, are you kidding me? Like, if you really cared, would you make a video like that? You can make a video. I do it. Y'all are watching it right now, right? You can make a video where you are like, hey, the way that this person is saying these things, or their thoughts or their rhetoric, I disagree with. But you don't have to be like, and also they're a fat slob and disgusting, and I hope they lose weight, and if they don't, they're going to die soon. Like, are you kidding me? How is that going to help anyone? Okay, I'm sorry. Let's keep moving.
Results in one of two things. Someone engaging in totally toxic health behaviors, which then lead them to like yo-yo dieting, starving themselves, or developing some type of other disordered eating. Or it leads to them rage eating and saying, F you, I'll be as fat as I want.
Yes. I'm glad that she said that. 100%. It can, I mean, obviously it's not always going to be black and white in these crazy things, but there are people that are going to be like, oh, you said that? I'm just going to eat more. Or you actually do hurt their feelings, so they decide to eat more. Like, of course that happens. Like, oh.
And I'm going to be very real that I think part of the reason that I waited so long to change my health is because I didn't want to make those people feel like they had any part in my life. And it's hard, and it is something.
Yep. You guys, oh. That's it. Like, she said it herself. The way that you're talking to me is going to make me, because I don't want to prove you right, I'm not going to do the thing that you're saying I should do, even if it maybe is in my best interest. She said it herself.
Something that literally still bothers me, like right now, especially when I'm making all of these changes and I'm having a vast improvement in my body, is it pisses me off that somewhere sitting in their mom's basement at their computer is a troll who is taking credit for something that I am doing out of love for myself and is saying to themselves, I shamed her into changing.
Well, I will say, this is an office, and this is not my mom's basement, all right?
It blows my mind and makes me so angry that that I even have to think that way. And that's where I think, like, when I say I bought into the fat culture, I get it. I get why fat people are so pissed about all the shit we have to go through. And I'm going to say shit because it really is shit. We have to go through from strangers on the internet that we, out of spite, decide to not take care of our bodies.
Yep. It's so, I mean, it's so true. And like, I've said this stuff before, like when people are like, oh, it's glorifying obesity. And I do think there are certain things that are glorifying obesity. When you sit here and say like, health at every size, you can be healthy at any size or whatever, stuff like that. But when it's just a person that is bigger, that is taking a picture in a bikini and posting that on Instagram, or they are talking about whatever food they're eating if they decided to eat an ice cream cone, and then people sit there and be like, oh, you're going to die soon. You're going to die. And I'm just saying this because I care about your health. It's like, dude, first off, you don't even know this person. So like, get out of here, right? And second, they're not glorifying obesity by existing. Like, there is a very different, like, there is glorifying obesity and then there is an obese person existing in the world. They are not the same thing. They're not the same thing.
Because it's like, well, I'm going to eat French fries just because you told me not to. Like, you're not helping. You're just perpetuating the problem by, like, maybe I'm the only one. Maybe I'm the only one who's done this, but literally, I know that I've made choices sometimes that are not great just to spite some asshole who wrote on my comments. And
I mean, I did the same thing before, I mean, not before the internet existed, but before social media was a huge thing and it was like it is now. Like when I would have people that I'd say like, oh yeah, I'm going to go on a diet. And then a few months later, you know, your boy hopped off that diet right quick and they decided to try and like kind of shame me or be like, hey, I thought you were on a diet. What happened to that? I wouldn't be like, oh, you know what? They're right. I need to lose weight. No, I'd be like, screw that person. I'm going to go and have another super large soda. You know what I mean? Like it didn't make me want to lose weight.
that is a weird dynamic that I don't know how to fix. And I wish that it wasn't a component because I don't think it would have taken me this long to make and move in this direction if I didn't have that constant harassment. And actually, it's really hard for me right now, and I'm just gonna tears again. It's really freaking hard for me right now to read hate comments, because I think before, when I knew I wasn't doing the right things, when I was making choices that I knew deep down inside weren't good choices, it was easier for me to handle the hate then, because it's not like I was trying to be healthy.
Yeah.
I wasn't. And health in the physical form wasn't a priority at that point. Like I said, I was focusing on mental, emotional, and social health. But now when someone tells me that I'm lazy, or to eat a salad, or doubts what I had for lunch that day, it is so hard, because I have to turn that part of my brain that wants to be like, F you, I'm going to go eat some fries. Because I have to keep focused on what I want. And these people come in and, under the guise of caring, actually make it so much more difficult for me to hear the own voice that lives in my head.
Yeah, 100%. And on top of that, I'm not sure if he's going to bring it up, but people will see that you are trying to make a change, and then they will say, oh, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, you need to do this and this and this, and this isn't the best way, so maybe you should try this, and I don't really like that you're doing this, so you should actually do this. It's like, dude, let the person figure it out. Like, if they want help, they will reach out. Like, I'm sure if Anna wants help, she has a very large following. She can reach out to someone that has the information that she might be lacking right now, right? I don't know. But, like, she doesn't need a bunch of random people, like, going and, like, commenting and being like, oh, you need to do this. Oh, you need to do that. This is better. That's better. Like, oh, that stuff is so frustrating.
The voice that's actually there to support me. It's funny because they have no bearing on my self-esteem, but they are there because I am thinking so much about food, because I am thinking so much about activity level. When they come in and they comment on it, it is hard. It is hard for me to remain focused. It is hard for me to push through, and it is hard for me to not feel... It's hard for me not to question myself. And so I wish, like, I think part of the reason I felt it's so necessary for me to be public about all of this, when initially I was just going to, like, magically change my life and not tell anyone. But part of the reason I decided to come out and talk about and talk through this journey is because we do not have people out there who talk about their journey in terms of, like, health and happiness versus terms of weight and societal acceptance.
Now, I know for a fact there are going to be people that will see this video and they're like, no, well, tough love is where it's at. You got to tell the person how it is. You got to be straight with them. You got to be tough. And it's like, the amount of people that is actually going to work on, one, I believe, is very slim. And on top of that, they don't need your tough love if you are a complete stranger on the internet. They don't need it from you. If they're going to get tough love from someone, let them get it from their close friends, their family, people that actually know them, people that actually know exactly what they're doing, people that know exactly what their habits are, people that know exactly what their past are with dieting, people that know exactly what excuses they are making. People like that is who the tough love needs to come from. That is who the tough love needs to come from. It doesn't need to come from Joe Schmo on Instagram that has decided, I'm going to comment on this person and say, hey, you're fat. Yeah, that's great tough love. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to help that person lose weight. Great tough love. Yeah, good job.
And that is a huge problem. Like, there's no other way to say it. That's a problem, because people build their identities around their bodies because they have to survive.
Yep. Oh, man. Are you kidding me? 100%. How many of us in chat, right, to my guys in chat, because this is, I can only really speak to the dudes here. I was the funny fat guy. Like, that's who I was. And I felt like I needed to be that person to, like, survive in high school for sure. Like, that was who I needed to be, because, like, if I wasn't that, I was terrified. Like, I was terrified of what would happen to me. Like, 100%. And, like, when people say, like, oh, it's so true. I'm just going to let it go.
And then we ask them to question that identity, which might be the first place that they've ever felt at home in the world, is around that identity. We ask them to question that and hate that, and that is not a fair ask. And even now, like as my body is changing and feels a little foreign to me, because there's some parts of my body that don't look the same anymore, my body looks different and feels a little foreign, and that's an uncomfortable feeling. So I have to like physically stop myself from not looking at my body and focusing on my activity. And one thing that has helped is it's helped me continually exercise, because when I feel disconnected from my body as it is now, I go and exercise, because then it just forces me to connect. It forces me to move and use this body and basically accept it more. And my body hasn't even changed that much. Oh, it's just, I wish that we hadn't built size into an identity. I wish that trolls didn't feel like they got a gold star every time a fat person went on a diet. You know, I wish that diet culture didn't exist so that people like me could make health changes without it being this like controversial thing. I wish people didn't message me asking for diet tips now, because that feels weird and uncomfortable, and I don't and won't ever give any.
Yeah, I remember when people started asking me for diet tips. I was like, really, me? Like, I was just 360 pounds. I mean, I'm still figuring this all out. Atticus Emerson said, make fun of yourself. Yes, make fun of yourself first so they don't get the pleasure of ridiculing you. Thanks for the $5. And 1,000%, that was how I moved through high school. Like, my nickname was Cupcake, right? People gave me that nickname because they were trying to be mean to me. I flipped it and I was like, nah, I'm going to accept this and I'm going to make this part of who I am. And like throughout high school, everyone called me Cupcake. When I graduated, they literally said John David Cupcake Glod. Like, so yes, 100%.
I just want to be healthy. I just want to be free from pain. And however my body needs to shift and change to support that, it's going to. But I'm not going to sit here and hate it along the way. And so it's all a little bit weird. It's all a little bit confusing. And the only thing I can do right now is be accountable to myself, hold myself to the decisions I make that are helping me move towards the life that I want and deserve to have.
I really like a lot of the stuff that she's saying, and especially like the whole identity thing. I remember when I first heard people saying, you're not an obese person, like you have obesity. And I remember thinking like, that's so ridiculous. Like you have obesity, whatever. But like the more and more I think about it, and I'm still learning, and I still sometimes will say obese person, right? But like when people say they have obesity, why I think I like that a little bit more maybe is because it makes it seem like it is something that you can no longer have, right? When you have a cold, you can no longer have a cold in the future, right? And so I think that is a positive change. But it is, it was definitely for me, it took a while to kind of come to grips with it and understand maybe why. Because I remember at first I was like, nah, but now I'm kind of learning to not hate it, I guess.
That's it. I wish I could do that without all the noise, but I can't. So that's it, guys. I mean, the reality is there will always be an excuse not to do something. There will always be a reason you can't. And the only way that you can is by holding yourself accountable to the decisions and changes you make in your life. That's it. So with that, guys, I'm going to wrap up this whole long diatribe on accountability. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. I'll check you later, and peace. My peace sign went off the screen. There you go.
Wow. That was, I was not expecting to get so heated in that. I was just trying to chill today. But that was a really good video, and I'm very, very, very glad that I watched it with you guys. Might have said some things that maybe maybe I'll regret in the future. Jen Jones, thanks so much. I had to pay offering because you, sir, are preaching today. This live is shifting my mind. Thanks. Thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate it. Wow. Yeah. And don't worry, I'm going to save this one. It'll be up on the channel later. Whew.
Obey the warning signs, and when there are flashing lights or wigwags, don't attempt to cross until they come to a complete stop.